Hi, Melissa here from GirlGoneFishing, and it's been a while since I've done one of these intro videos on the way to the lake, but today's been a crazy day and I'm getting a super late start on going fishing. So this is the way we're gonna roll today. So what happened was I fished the Cincinnati Kayak Fishing Tournament at Acton Lake yesterday in Houston Woods, Oxford, Ohio. And as I was almost back to my house, I got a flat tire. So being Sunday night and everything was closed, I had to call AAA this morning first thing and get it towed in. And it took them a really long time to get my car in to get it looked at. Got a new valve stem, everything's fine now, but I lost about 3/4 of my day. And this was a really important day for me. It's my last day that I had fully available to fish for the Buckeye Kayak Fishing Trail Spring Fling. The Spring Fling is a month-long online event, any public water in Ohio, runs April 1st through May 1st, and I am currently sitting 9th out of 77 anglers. I know a lot of people probably haven't entered fish. They're probably holding them back, kind of sandbagging, and there's still a week for people to fish while I have to go to work. But I was really hoping to get a top 10 out of this. It would be my first top 10 in like a local trail. So that would make me really happy, but I'm gonna be happy with where I end up no matter what happens, because I have 98¼ inches for this tournament. I've never had a limit that big before, and I'm really proud of how well I've done this month. But still, if I could get that top 10, it would just be wicked cool. So I'm gonna go out, fish for these last few hours that I have, fish hard, and see if I can get an upgrade fish. Now here's the crazy thing, my smallest fish is 18¾ so that means I have to catch a 19-inch bass to even gain any ground. So it's gonna be tough, but I think I can do it. Let's go out and I'll see you at the lake. So I'm starting my day on the grassy end of the lake because I want to try out a couple lures that I might use at the Lake Erie East-West Harbor event this weekend. So I'm starting with my lipless crankbait and a chatterbait, and I'm going to try that around the grass. So if this doesn't work, I'm going to go hit submerged wood with a square-bill crankbait, a finesse jig, and a Texas rigged worm. But fingers crossed, I love a good moving bait bite. The wind's picking up a little bit. So hopefully they're moving in the grass because of the sun. The wind isn't going to make them care about the, big hunk of plastic, and I get that reaction bite. Come on, 19-inch fish or bigger, so I get that upgrade. So the part where I am right now is pretty shallow and very grassy, but it's emerging grass, which means there's still a little room between the grass and the top of the water. So I didn't get any love with the Strike King Red Eye Shad Lipless Crankbait. I did get a lot of grass. So I'm gonna try the Z-Man Evergreen Chatterbait with my Kayak Easy Shiner trailer on it. I'm gonna start off by casting and reeling with my rod tip up and reeling really fast, seeing what happens if I burn the chatterbait right over the top of the emerging grass in that space between the top of the grass and the water. Then if that doesn't work, I can experiment with going slower, getting it through the bottom, maybe reel stop, let it drop. We'll try different things. Alright, well, no fish so far with either the lipless crankbait or the chatterbait, but I have got some good information about how it comes through the grass with different retrieving techniques. So I have been anchored in shallow, throwing out into the deep to reel in, going with the wind. So now just to mix it up, I'm going to go try to anchor in the wind out a little deeper and cast into the shallows and see if that makes any kind of difference. He's just a little guy. So since I didn't get here until later in the afternoon, the sun is already lower on the horizon, which is making a pretty good shade line on the one side of the lake. So since my original theory that the sun was going to put the bass in the grass, like kind of in the, you know, the grassy flat, that didn't pan out. So I'm going to try theory number 2, which is the bass will gravitate towards the shade line, feeling a little safer in the shade. So let's go try that. And the cool thing is there's a combination of the grass and that submerged wood in that shade line, so I'll get to try both techniques. So totally off on a side tangent, I used to have the kind of anchor that had the 3 kind of arms that folded out like a grappling hook kind of thing, and it was kind of useless. It would just drag along the ground in the wind, even like a 5 or 6 mile per hour wind. So when I got that stuck in trees and ended up having to cut the line, I wasn't really that excited about buying another one just like that. So I asked Brian Tacey of Strictly Sail and Kayak, great kayak provider in Cincinnati. He actually runs Cincinnati Kayak Fishing, and they sponsor a lot of tournaments for Cincinnati Kayak Fishing and Buckeye Kayak Fishing. So great place for all of your kayak and sailboat needs. But anyway, I called him up and said, hey, do you have any anchors in stock? And he said, no, go on Amazon and order one of these. So it looks pretty crazy, but it works a lot better than that 3-arm foldable style. I think it kind of like digs into the ground. So this is my anchor now, and it's been working out great. Thanks, Brian. So I haven't been filming in all of April until today because I really just wanted to not have to mess around with the cameras and focus on learning some different techniques and really putting in some time to learn to focus on the fishing part. The GoPros, while I love filming and I love making the videos, I love the challenging of editing and all that stuff, the GoPros, you have to babysit them, and it takes a lot of time and effort away from the fishing. Oh, come on, fish. I need those big fish. 2 21-inch fish. Is that really asking too much? Like, I don't need to win the thing. I just want to be in the top 10. The sad thing being 2 21-inch fish would not make me win this tournament. It might not even put me in the top 5. But it would definitely guarantee my first top 10 finish at a local trail. I did get a second one at a kayak bass fishing monthly online state challenge for Ohio, but I haven't done it with either of the 2 local trails I fish, the Cincinnati Kayak Fishing or the Buckeye Kayak Fishing. So I'd really love to get my first local trail top 10, and I'm so close, but it's not going to happen unless I get a 20-inch fish today, in the next 3 hours, but no pressure. Well, I'm definitely going through grass. I feel it grabbing and I rip it out, and I feel it ticking the top of the grass. So I don't understand why I'm not getting bit. Come on, bass. Big bass. I need big bass. Man, I think I'm starting to crack under the pressure. My mind, like, there's a part of my mind that's kind of on tilt from missing the whole day. I was really counting on having, like, you know, putting in the full day work today of trying to get those big upgrade fish. And with like 3/4 of my day cut out, I feel like a lot of pressure to try to perform, get something to happen in just this little bit of time. And I usually don't feel a lot of pressure when I fish. So, I mean, I guess this is good. It's good practice for like an in-person tournament, but I just gotta keep casting, find those fish. So I've moved into the shade line, and I'm throwing the Strike King Bitsy Bug, which is a little finesse jig. And I have I think it's called a Rage Menace, but it's the little baby version. I've cut the end off it so it fits on there, kind of like a little crawfish trailer. So kind of a natural color. I am not a jig fisherman. I don't understand jigs on a mucky bottom. I used to throw jigs when I learned to fish in California, but it was on like those steep rocky reservoir banks where, for one, the water was really clear and I could watch it, and another, I could feel the jig hitting the rock, so I felt connected to the lure. But in these mucky bottoms, I don't know where it is, I don't know what it's doing, so I've always kind of avoided throwing them. But I have to learn. It's time that I embraced my inner jig fisherman, and I'm finding that I like the little ones better than I like the heavy jigs. So I bought a bunch of these kind of inexpensive bitsy bugs, and I've just been throwing them into the shore with the wood and everything, and not caring if I lose them because they're not that expensive. So hopefully this will get me a big fish, because I'm down to about an hour and a half left in my day. Yesterday and today have been warmer and sunnier, even though it has been windy. So I feel like that might have triggered the fish to start moving shallow again. So I'm trying to get my casts right up to shore and then let it sit there for a minute, and then just give it a little bit like of a jiggle, and then let it sit there for a minute, and then just slowly hop it out. So it's taken a lot of self-control for me to try to slow down, and I'm trying to do little tiny movements so that if the fish are shallow, it keeps the lure in the strike zone faster, as opposed to my normal thing where I'm going to do like a big twitch and the lure is probably moving 2 feet under the water. So I'm working on just kind of wiggling it in place a little bit. It would be awesome if this paid off with a big fish. Come on, bass, where are you? Just one little 20-inch one would make me happy right now. Little 20-inch. I am starting to get worried though. I only have about 15 or 20 minutes at the longest left to fish. This park closes at dusk, and in order to have time to get my car, or get my kayak back to my car and load it on my car and out of here, like before I get in trouble, really 20 minutes at the absolute longest, and that would be pushing it. So plenty of time to catch a fish. Oh, come on, big bass. In yesterday's tournament, I caught my second biggest bass with 5 minutes to go in fishing time. So I know it's possible. I'm going all in with the Z-Man Evergreen Chatterbait to finish the day down here in the grass. I can get in more casts with it, cover more ground, and I feel like increase my chances of getting a fish. So I'm just going to make as many casts as I can in the next 15 minutes. Maybe I'll hit a fish on the nose, and even if it didn't want to bite, it just can't help itself. I'm going through so much grass. There's got to be bass down here. I'm sitting in probably 2 feet of water, and I'm casting out to about 3 or 4 feet of water. There's grass everywhere though, so I just feel like there's got to be fish back here, especially with the warm day. Would have moved them shallow. Plenty of grass. Well, unfortunately, my fishing time is over for the day, and that pretty much means it's over for the Spring Fling tournament. Now, the Spring Fling does go through May 1st, which is the date for the Lake Erie Harbor East-West Harbor event with the Buckeye Kayak Fishing Trail. So if I happen to catch a 20-inch bass on Lake Erie, then I can use that for my tournament. But considering when I was there last time I got skunked, that seems like a long shot. So, but for the next 3 days, I have to go to work, can't fish. It's just gonna be awful watching the standings and seeing people submit fish while I just drop down. But on a positive note, I caught 98¼ inches of bass. That is by far my biggest limit ever, even in a monthly event. So I'm really proud of that. And what makes it even cooler, it's last year when I fished a lot of the KBF monthlies, I really didn't have a job. I'd basically been laid off for COVID. So I was out every day, like 6 or 7 days a week, 18 hours a day, just trying to keep myself sane, trying to keep myself focused on something other than not having an income and global pandemic. But this time I actually am working, and so I'm fishing around work, not getting nearly as much time on the water, and I'm catching bigger fish and getting a bigger limit. So I'm really proud about that. Even if I don't get my goal of the top 10, there's a long season to go and a lot more tournaments to fish, and I'm just gonna try again on the next one. All right, thanks so much for watching, you guys, and I will see you next weekend from Lake Erie.